Greetings. Thank you for joining me today. The university experience. Is it still worth it? That's what I want to talk about today. Now, as you can probably tell by the grey hairs on my head, it's been some time since I've been through the school system or the university system. But I did go. Now, back in my day, we had a system known as the grant system. The idea was that if your grades were up to it, you could apply to a certain range of universities, and one of them would hopefully give you an offer, come up with these grades and you can go. And your local authority, the area you came from, well, they would pay for it. So they'd pay for the course fees up to a point, and then you'd have a little grant on top if you qualified for it, which would help you live wherever it was you were studying. And the whole system, whilst it didn't take the cost out of the equation completely, it meant that you could go away and study before you start work, study without too much cost. So the cost of paying any loans you might have back wouldn't be too prohibitive. And as a result of that, universities flourished and they started to offer more and more courses because whilst we don't all need to go to university, it is beneficial. It shows that you're capable of turning up for a certain number of hours a week and learning core skills or whatever it happens to be. And to be able to prove that you can turn up and learn is a good thing for an employer. Without seeing previous experience on a CV, without seeing a previous job history, what does a new employer have to go on? So there was a merit to it. And I went off to university and so did my sister, and we benefited from it. Now here's the thing. Whilst the universities flourished and the number of courses grew, the costs were growing with it, and it became very clear to consecutive Conservative governments that that wasn't a cost that they were prepared to bear. So we saw a shift in the approach. So we went from the grant system and the local authorities paying for your education to a system which is based on the private sector on finance, on the student loan company. And the idea is that the student should invest in their future and get a loan. And so you get a loan for the course fees, you get a loan for the cost of living for that year, because obviously you're studying, you're not really able to work fully. You can sure get a little part-time job to help, but ultimately you're getting a loan to pay for the cost of learning. And at the end of the day, your average student might be looking at 60, 70,000 worth of debt, which they're then got to pay off over the course of their working life. Now, the selling point for the student loan system was that don't worry about the cost right now. You'll start paying it back when you hit the trigger point, the income trigger point. And if you don't ever earn that trigger point or over, well, then you'll not be paying it back. And okay, it's a promises. But the thing is with promises, politicians' promises, they tend to evaporate. And whilst the trigger point might have been, let's call it 25k, it's not, but might have been that figure when you went and got the loan, there's no telling that would stay at that point. Now, as the years have rolled on, of course, the cost of living rises, wages rise, but the trigger points don't always rise in proportion. And so for this reason, a lot of people who thought they'd never be paying back their student loan found that, even doing a minimum wage-ish job, or not much more over minimum wage, put in a few hours overtime extra, and all of a sudden you hit the trigger point. And so you're paying it back. Considerable cost, and it affects your ability to buy other things, to pay for other things like mortgages. That's a good example, isn't it? Or utility bills. So looking back, and we shouldn't look back in anger, decisions were made, choices were made. I'm sure you had fun at university. But should you be paying that back over the course of your whole working career? Well, when you look at a 60 grand debt for the average student, you will be. And it's a frightening thought. So you may be well into your retirement before you finish paying that wretched thing off. Every single day, every single week, every single month, it is sapping your ability to buy things. negating the benefit you might have had, the short-term benefit of the degree itself. So, does the system need reform? I think it does. I think it is time to look at what the universities are allowed to offer and say, if there is no tangible benefit, no real long-term benefit to what you're offering, then maybe it shouldn't be a course that you're able to get a student loan for. There is merit to learning. There is a lot of merit to learning. But the learning should always be of limited cost. Now, I've taken several runs at this video because I wanted to get it right. I didn't want to sound like a misery, don't go to university, it's a waste of time, when it's not. For a lot of people on a lot of courses, it's well worth your time. If only to teach yourself, because you're doing a lot of teaching yourself, if only to teach yourself that you are able to learn, you are able to be a better person. A lot of university courses don't actually give you the information, they give you the nurturing to allow you to go and learn to learn. Learn to pace yourself, learn to give yourself time, learn the social skills. Often the information you actually learn on a course is of limited value. It lasts just a couple of years, and then of course a lot of fields, they update themselves and things move on. Should a university education cost you enough to last a lifetime? No. I don't believe a course is worth 10,000 a year. I really don't. I appreciate the work of a lecturer. I appreciate it's not easy. But when I went to university, a lot of the course content that I suffered through was delivered by people who were not too much more qualified than me. They were not literally lecturers, paid lecturers in the traditional sense. They were people doing their doctorate or some other form of qualification. As part of that course, they had to teach some of what they already knew to the younger students. So essentially, the university was getting their time for free. Well, that's as it seemed to me anyway. Would I want to pay the 10 grand a year for what is essentially something that's free to the university? I don't think so. In the modern day, we've got, of course, YouTube. Everyone's free to give all their knowledge and experience for free if they want to. And you only have to suffer for a few adverts. A lot of universities are turning to students and saying, look, well, this thing that we need to explain to you is perfectly explained on this YouTube, so go watch that. And if you're paying 10,000 a year, you don't want to be told to go watch YouTube. You want a proper lecturer in your face, giving you a proper lecture face to face, and someone you can speak to later on if you've got any questions. You don't want to be going through the free at point of delivery YouTube system. There's nothing wrong with it, but do you want to pay for it? No. So I think something has to change. So we have to see either universities drop their course fees. That's not going to happen. They've got rising costs. Maybe the government steps in and does something to help the universities survive regardless. Not always the best for innovation, that one. It does allow a university to stagnate and stop offering the best. Should universities change what they offer? Well, probably yes. Maybe they should offer a course for everybody in core skills. A good example of core skills you might want to learn that we don't tend to learn in school or college would be core medical skills. How many people who arrive at a hospital accident emergency room, how many people wouldn't do a whole lot better if they're being treated by a bystander, the first at the scene? If you have yourself a terrible crash, you'd sooner be treated by the next passerby who's just got the skills. Can't always rely on that, of course. But if we all had the skills taught just out of college, maybe a few more people arriving at casualty would do better. It would free things up. So, I would love to see people taught how to deal with a stab wound, deal with electrocution, deal with choking, deal with a heart attack, deal with asthma attack, how to talk someone down who's suicidal. All these core skills are useful to everybody. Now you can pick them up the hard way, you can go looking for them, or they can be included as a, yeah, you kind of need this. Give everyone the opportunity to go to university and pick up those core skills, tag them on with the rest of your qualifications. It's no bad thing. Would it be a degree? Of course it wouldn't. Would it be useful? Yes. And if they did charge something for it, well, it might actually be worth it. But for now, we have courses that are not fit for purpose. We have courses that politicians quite well regard as Mickey Mouse courses, and you might argue that they're not worth the paper they're printed on. Anyway, whatever you do, have a great day. I look forward to seeing you on the very next video. Bye for now.